Before we get started and before he loses his mind, obviously we're aware of Colt's arrest last night, and our only comment is the same as when he chose to leave the program, and that's that we wish him well, and hopefully he can get through this situation, but that's going to be our only comment on that whole topic.
Is there anything you can do for a former player who's not in the program anymore? Ibid.
Is there any sort of empathy for his situation? You're a father.
Again, I think we have sufficiently addressed that topic, and well, I'd love to talk about UCLA or our football team or our current situation.
Mark, let's talk about if it's okay about their offensive line. They've got some young players coming in. Maybe an advantage from your point?
As somebody was asking about that yesterday, I thought they did a really good job against Stanford when those guys were in there. It wasn't a situation where you could watch the film and go, "Wow, number so and so, that guy's a true freshman." And a lot of times when you see that many guys slotted in and out, you can tell. And so they've done a good job, I think, mixing and matching their personnel, and obviously they've got a ton of skill guys that make up for a lot of that, and their system helps them with that as well.
What do you see more and more from Tarodney that lets him get in earlier and earlier each game?
Tarodney's a dynamic guy. He's kind of in the Thomas Tyner category of just a guy that is learning on the run and on the fly of developing as a true freshman. He's a guy that is at times our most dynamic pass rusher and just has a kind of a natural skill set that you can't teach. And so he's just putting it all together, and he's working hard.
Anthony Barr. How do you game plan for a guy like that?
That's a good question. He reminds me, I said this earlier, he reminds me a lot of when I was at Arizona State with Terrell Suggs, of a guy that just, you write up a scheme and it looks good and then he defeats 2 blocks. But the other part that really helps them is they've got, 3 other guys in their scheme that are fantastic. I mean, Jack is a guy that can really, really run. The other 2 guys inside they're big, they're fast, they're athletic, they're tough. A lot of times in a defense like this, you can try to find a mismatch, and okay, we can isolate this guy, or well, okay, maybe this guy, and you can never really, you never really get to a great matchup. But he's a fantastic player, very tough, great burst. He's a very good player.
They start a ton of true freshmen. Have you ever seen a team like I think 6 or 7 at least play? Have you ever seen a team with that many starters, like true freshmen?
I don't know. At this point in the season, you kind of, all those guys, I mean, Miles Jack isn't a true freshman. He looks like a 3-year returning starter. At this point, we don't talk about, Thomas Tyner, our guys. They're on the team and they're in there and rolling. And so I don't know. I think at different stages we've had guys that have had to play earlier than maybe you wanted to due to injury. But I think in most cases on their team, obviously with the exception of a couple injuries on the front, it's because they're the best guy. It's because that they're the best guy that they're in there playing. So they're a talented team.
Did D'Anthony's role go back to what it was before? Or does this situation change based on what's happened in the last 4 games?
We'll find out. We'll find out of just between the production of our receivers that have stepped up really well, and Thomas and Byron playing well. That kind of will play itself out.
You don't game plan ahead of time to say, okay, we're going to use them this way.
I'll tell you later. Tell you after game 2.
What's the excitement level been this week, Coach, as far as practice goes? Can you tell if there's any additional excitement with game day coming in, a ranked team? It's one of those things. Our guys have prepared really well, and I think it's more or less one of those things you turn on the tape, and especially from an offensive standpoint, this is an outstanding defense that you flip on that tape and you're trying to figure out a way to scheme up a guy like Barr or their front. Marsh is a great player. Vanderdoes is playing really well, another freshman that's really talented. And so our guys have prepared really well, and now we just need to play.
Mark, does game day change your schedule?
A little bit. There's a couple different obligations, but that's great. I mean, that's part of the fun. If you're playing in the right games, those guys come around, and that's a good thing.
How do you feel about that? First-year head coach, game day coming in.
I don't think there's any personal nature to it other than you're playing in the right games. Your team is in the right games, and
again, our players have prepared the way that we want them to get ready for a game like this, and the extra pomp and circumstance is something that our veteran guys are used to, and just need to do our deal.
Your plans to dress up as the Duck?
I don't know. We haven't talked wardrobe yet. Got to get past makeup too.
Another recruiting tool, though. I mean, you get a chance
Sure.
to say, hey, look at us.
Sure. I mean, anytime again you're playing in these games, that's what guys want to do, and they want to be the feature, so to speak. And those guys are picking the best game of the week, and so if they're around, you're doing something right. And so again, that just reinforces we got to play this game, and hopefully we'll make them show up again.
Coach, how do you compare DeForest Buckner's skill set with a guy like Armstead, who he kind of dispelled in the last couple of weeks? And a tall guy, but
yeah,
are they
very
the same
similar.
guy?
Very similar guys. I hate calling a guy like that a finesse guy, but Armstead is a little bit more of a, he's worked his game a little bit more into a edge guy, but still, a powerful presence. And DeForest is a little bit more the other way of kind of a thumper first, and is working into being a polished football player second. But they're both really tough dudes, athletic, big, and guys that is another scary thing is they can get a lot better. Just their development.